Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classic Classic Non-Classic. This is episode number 1079 and Doubleshot 1073, 1179. Let me see. Okay, I got two Avenger trades. One is actually the last one to collect a particular volume of a series. The other is the first one. First up, it is The Mighty Avengers Dark Reign. Now, when I initially saw this book on Amazon, I initially didn't think it would look like this, a thick book. I thought this book would just contain just the only trade I didn't own from. Now, this is basically from Dan Slott's run for the book for Mighty Avengers. This book contains the entirety of Dan Slott's run, which is basically 21 to 36 material from Secret Invasion Requiem. Yes, all this stuff in here is run by Dan Slott and Crystal Cage. Now, I've already reviewed pretty much in the trades. I have the two trades right here. Basically, 27 to 36. I've already got out of the way the last 10 issues. The opening issues, I did not review yet. Because I initially thought that this trade would just contain just the opening 6 issues of this run, plus Secret Invasion Requiem. That's what I thought it would contain. And that's what I'm going to talk about here, because the rest of the stuff that happens after 26, I've already reviewed. Check out my reviews for Siege Mighty Avengers and Siege The Mighty Avengers The Unspoken. The opening 3 issues is known as Earth's Mightiest. It's pretty much the formation of the team, led by Hank Pym. Now, first up, before we get to the actors himself, first we have Secret Invasion Requiem, where Hank Pym was kind of debriefed what's been going on since he was replaced by a frickin' Skrull during Secret Invasion. And at the end of the issue, he takes up the identity of the Wasp. Which, there he is, right there. And he maintains his identity as the Wasp until the following year. Yeah, he maintains this thing for a little over a year. Actually, it's about 2 years. He actually drops the identity of the Wasp when not long into the series Avengers Academy, when he assumes the identity of Giant Man again for the first time in many years. Now, the lineup the lineup is basically put together by the Scarlet Witch. Now, this is actually not the Scarlet Witch. Nope, it is Loki. When Loki was possessing the body of Lady Sif. So yeah, Loki's a woman in here. That was something JMS came up with until Loki was able to return to his actual body for the first time since, I think it was Dan Jurgens' run when he wrote Thor back, when Thor ended back, I think it was like 2004. But these members are part members of the team, and this line remains mostly intact up until toward the end of the run. It's basically led by Hank Pym, Witch Acosta. They bring in Edwin Jarvis because they can't beat the Avengers without Jarvis. We also have Hercules, Amadeus Cho, the second Vision from the Young Avengers series, Straxure. Tony Stark is briefly part of this team for about just a couple issues. He's only here. He shows issue 21, and then by 23, he's gone. Yep, he's gone. The other members include U.S. Agent, the Hulk. Yes, the Hulk is briefly part of this team. Only for the opening 6 issues, because as soon as issue 26 wraps up, he's gone. Yep, the Hulk is gone. Where does it go off to? Probably back to his own solo title. Yeah, but basically the lineup you see in the cover, that's the lineup for pretty much the first 3 issues of this run. Mostly because Iron Man leaves the team. Now, my only guess is the reason why Dan Slott included him, because he was on the run, and they kind of included him as part of the lineup initially for about 3 issues, and he was dropped from the team. Just so we could have sort of a pass the torch moment. And Hank Pym assumes leadership of the team because he's probably the only member of the Avengers who's actually a member the longest. And Slott kind of retcons it where he was originally the very first leader of the Avengers, back when they first started back in Avengers number 1, which they reference that here. And so it put together a deal with basically a bunch of chaos around the whole world, and they got a good positive reception because of it. Though in universe, they get sort of basically chastised by Norman Osborn, not publicly, mind you. In like one mention, and he's also meeting with his group, the Cabal. The Cabal, in case you don't know who these people are, they're a group of evil supervillains. Well, one of whom was actually part of both. This is basically Osborn's version of Illuminati. This group is comprised of, you'll probably laugh, or probably like, that's interesting. Because Bendis formed this group, why not? It's comprised of Emma Frost, Namor, Doctor Doom, the Hood, and Loki. Yep, Loki. A character becomes a primary player in the pages of New Avengers toward the end of the run before Bendis leaves, before the book is relaunched. Yeah, that's as far as I can tell. They do, in fact. Now, after the events of the Dark Reign, after the Utopia crossover, Emma Frost and Namor leave the team, and they get replaced by Taskmaster. Yep, and there's mentions in here basically what happens in our books, like, is Camp Hammond shut down? Tony Stark being on the run. That was something going on in his book. Hey, Camp Hammond's not shut down. That was something happening in the pages of Avengers Initiative. I'm trying to think what else was. Oh, yeah. S.H.I.E.L.D. got replaced by Hammer. That happened in the pages of Dark Avengers in the opening issue. Here's the strange thing about Hammer. That a lot of people tend to question about this when Hammer was first created by Michael Bendis. It's an acronym. The symbol is, I kid you not, the symbol of Hammer is Thor's hammer. I'm not sure why Osborn decided to do that, but he did. But my question is, I think a lot of people question this basically about Hammer for years. What the heck does Hammer stand for? Yeah, I know it's an acronym because there's dots between every single letter of the word Hammer. At least S.H.I.E.L.D. had an actual what it originally stood for. Not frickin' Hammer. Hammer, in universe, they say what the acronym stands for is classified. I don't think Bendis had any idea what the heck Hammer even stood for. And also, we also had the addition of Quicksilver to the team. Yeah, he's a joint team just because he wants to. But I got at least got hand to Pym. This is actually quite interesting lineup. I mean, Hank Pym leading a team of Avengers. I mean, if you look at the lineup, I would say the only people who actually have experience with Avengers is pretty much like Hank Pym, Hercules, U.S. Agent, but he's part of the West Coast team. He never became part of the main team, surprisingly. Now, John Walker, if you don't know who he is, aka U.S. Agent, he's a creation of late Mark Greenwald, who was part of his epic run that lasted from the 80s to the 90s, lasted for 16 years. And originally this guy was known as Super Patriot, and then he became Captain America for a couple years, and then he became U.S. Agent, which he still is this very day. And when he joined this group, this is the first time he joined the Avengers in years. Like, oh my gosh. It's like Slott basically kind of picked and chose his own Avengers. Like, whoever was not on the Mighty Avengers team, like the New Avengers team, or who basically wasn't particularly busy. It also eventually happened with Cap when he got shot. Actually, that's in our book here. So, and the keeping of the constant thing of why some people don't trust Hank Pym. Because he slapped Janet. Yep. And that in universe is why people don't trust Hank Pym. Because he slapped his wife. And the way Slott writes him is that, yeah, I did that. But I regret it. It was a terrible thing I did. And yet, here's kind of the thing. Every single writer keeps bringing it up. I think the most recent example of this was actually happening in the pages of Secret Empire. Where it's like, the Avengers fell apart when you slapped Janet. Yeah, this was Tony Stark telling this to Hank Pym when he was possessed by Ultron. I'll discuss more when I get a chance to do Secret Empire. But yeah, with the formation of the team, good lineup, and then the second arc in here, which also 3 issues, they pretty much have a battle with the Fantastic Four to get their base. Yep, their base. It was a thing invented by Hank Pym and Bill Foster. Of course, Janet Van Dyne's in the flashback when he invented this thing. And apparently, he had to get into an argument with Reed Richards over the ownership of the damn thing. And after basically Hank shut off a remote that activated the damn thing, he said, yeah, you can keep it. Now, here's the thing. I don't like how Slott writes. I don't mind how he writes Johnny Storm, The Thing, or Susan Richards. It's Reed Richards basically being a dick for absolute no reason at all. Though, fun fact, after this, I'd say, I think it was like just a few years later, like, I would say almost 10 years later, after this storyline wrapped up, Slott would be writing Fantastic Four, which is the current writer of Fantastic Four, and he writes him to be completely awesome. And, of course, Slott would write Iron Man. This technically was the first time I can think of he actually wrote Iron Man. I don't think he wrote him in She-Hulk. No, not that I can think of. This book was technically the first time he ever wrote Iron Man. Which probably gave some people were like, we should probably give Iron Man down the line along with Fantastic Four, maybe. But with Iron Man, that did happen. In at least almost 9 years after these issues came out, he got Iron Man. And he wrote them for a little over 2 years. Had a really weird run involving robots. Yes. Though, from what I can tell from the guy who's succeeding him on Iron Man, like, I saw the teaser image, the one of Alex Ross, like, my friend Edgar is going to be so happy the fact he's finding his own classic villains again. Like, on that opening cover, it looks like he's fighting Crimson Dynamo, which, awesome. Now, in the case of this book here, first they fight Calitha, who was possessing Quicksilver in the opening 3 issues. Then Quicksilver joins the team by the end of issue 26. Hulk surprisingly leaves the team and he goes up on his own. And, of course, Cassie and Vision basically are just trying to have the Young Avengers come to their base because they want a place to hide. Now, what the particular base is, it's the Infinite Avengers Mansion. What the Infinite Avengers Mansion is, it's basically a dimension that was later revealed, later retcon. Apparently, where it is actually behind the base, behind the eye of Janet Van Dyne, who at this point was dead. Well, that was before Bendis retconned that she was in another universe. She was in the Microverse. The opening 6 issues here are really good. And I do recommend basically people who are fans of Dan Slott. I give this book roughly a 9.5 out of 10. Fantastic. Also, forgot to mention the artist in here. Yeah, the artist, surprisingly, and this is shocker when it comes to, well, this run. Now, you have mostly, for these issues, you have Cullen Phantom, and yeah, you have this guy pretty much on the artwork most of the time. Now, they do bring in one artist on here. He's in this book right here. I think his name is Sean Chen. Yeah, he actually drew Iron Man back in the 2000s. And it was great, though. Slott basically brought this guy in and do Mighty Avengers. Now, this technically is the end of my basically reviews for Mighty Avengers Volume 1, because I also have here the first trade, which collects Bendis' run for the book, which is 20 issues. Now, I initially got this book just to get the opening 6 issues, because that's how this trade was. Turns out I was wrong. Yeah, I was completely wrong, because this book contains the entire run. Now, the charging price of this thing was $45. I got this book for $12 on Amazon. Yeah, and these two books, I got these books years ago. Yeah, The Unspoken, which, by the way, at the ending of the first arc, actually set up this very arc as well. And I got, when I went to Comic-Con one year, I got this book signed by both the artists who drew this issue, drew this thing. Surprisingly, I've never met Dan Slott. Nope, I'll explain that in a minute. And here is basically the finale, Siege Mighty Avengers. Yep. And these trades here, that's all the Mighty Avengers stuff. Now, Mighty Avengers, when I initially heard about this series, I think this was about 13 years ago, I think it was, when the series originally started. I was not very happy about it because I wasn't a really big fan of Civil War 1 at that point. I was against the series because I didn't like the direction, basically, with the whole thing of basically where the pro-registration forces won the fight in Civil War 1. And at the time, I was basically not going to read the series, and then later on, I decided to read it anyway because of Avengers. Yeah, it took me some time to actually read the series. It took me about 3 years to finally decide to get into the series, because that's simply the way it was. But this book basically, when the series first started, it was basically part of the initiative stuff, which only lasted for the first few issues. And the cover here, that was the line that they had at the start of this run, which was, Iron Man, Sentry, Miss Marvel, Black Widow, Ares, Wonder Man, and the Wasp. This is the lineup. Now later on they were joined by Spider-Woman, but this was the initial lineup for pretty much the first 20 issues of the run, and then it got replaced with this lineup right here, which is quite interesting though because Hulk quit the team after 6 issues, and Iron Man quit after just 3 issues. Though the replacement was simply Quicksilver, and that was the lineup for most of the time up until the 3 issues that came before the Siege tie-in. Also, they also said something that basically they'll be continuing on throughout this whole run. When the Avengers work for this, let's just say this secret agency known as Grandpa. Yeah, because the Dark Avengers work for Hammer, the Mighty Avengers work for Grandpa. Now, initially, when you read the first few issues, the Mighty Avengers HQ was basically one of Hank Pym's old labs. That was their base until they got their actual base at the end of issue 26, and this is their base throughout the rest of the run. Now, the Infinite Avengers Mansion actually existed for a good period of time in the comic books until the events of Fear itself, when the place was destroyed. Now, after the group was disbanded for Mighty Avengers, after the group itself disbanded, the Infinite Avengers Mansion was still around, and Christos Gage, it was Chris Yost, who was the writer of Avengers Academy, he decided to keep that thing around and keep Hank Pym with it, but started up the Avengers Academy, which initially was based out of the place. Now, there was one particular place that appeared in here in the opening 6 issues when they were traveling about all these chaos stuff. They actually went to the Avengers compound. Yes, the Avengers compound, the former home of the West Coast Avengers. Yes, which makes it the first time this place has been seen in years. Though apparently it's been rebuilt in someone's mansion now. The compound itself was basically later revealed to be rebuilt, and after the events of Fear itself, became the home of Avengers Academy, which kind of still is this very day. Now, what happened to the group of the Mighty Avengers after this run concluded? Hulk just did whatever Hulk did. Still around in the comics this very day, though he's immortal. Hank Pym was the Wasp for another year until in 2010 with Avengers Academy, he became a Giant Man again. And at Avengers Academy, he didn't do very much after that for quite some time. Until he got killed and had his skin absorbed by frickin' Ultron. U.S. Agent. After he was removed from the team by Norman Osborn, he did very little. For almost a decade. Until he popped up in Nick Spencer's Sam Wilson, Captain America Sam Wilson run. Where he tried to get him to... Because some people didn't like the fact he was Captain America. Yeah, that's when Nick Spencer wrote it. And after that particular... Oh, yeah, he also, before that, he did show up in... If I remember, I think he showed up in Siege. And where he got himself his limb chopped off. He popped up in Thunderbolts, where he was the warden of the raft. And then he got possession of an ultimate version of Venom symbiote, which let him get his limbs back, which... I think he still has this very day. And not much is done with him. Now, what about Straxer and the Vision? Well, after the Mighty Avengers ended, they got moved over. They got basically... They will later next scene in the Avengers Jones Crusade miniseries, where both of them died. Yep, both of them died. And fun fact about the second Vision, he never met his predecessor. Nope, never did. Kind of strange the fact he never did, but he never did. Yeah, and the thing with Avengers Jones Crusade, there's about to be 9 issues. Initially, a series would come out once every couple months. The series took 2 years to come out because the series was heavily delayed. And now, what would happen with Cassie Lang, aka Straxer? She got killed by Doctor Doom. And then... I think it was less than a little over 2 years later, she got resurrected by Doctor Doom in the Pages Avengers world. Okay. Hercules. Not long after this, he got killed in his own solo book, though he got brought back later on the very year, became an integral part of Chaos War, got another solo title before it got canceled. He popped up now and again. He's had another ongoing series back in 2015, which was a really good book. It got canceled. It was written by Dan Abnett. It got canceled. Continued as a miniseries. And after that miniseries concluded, he did pretty much nothing for over a year. And he popped up occasionally in throughout the Secret Empire. He became more prominent in the weekly stuff, like in No Surrender and No Road Home. And that's that for Hercules. But as in the case of Quicksilver, oh boy, they say that, oh yeah, he was basically kidnapped by a Skrull. That was a lie he told the Inhumans, which he met with the Humans not long after the Unspoken storyline, where he lied to them. And they kind of forgave him for it. Now, his daughter Luna knew he lied. And she didn't speak to him for, I think it was about 2 years. 2 or 3 years. It wasn't until All New X Factor where he admitted, yeah, he lied. He was never replaced by a Skrull. And he regrets doing that. Now, what about some of the other members of the group? What about Amadeus Cho? Well, he was briefly Prince of Power when Hercules died. He didn't do very much afterwards until 5 years ago when he became the Hulk. For about 2 years. And I think it was about 3 years until the actual Hulk came back. And then he went crazy. He got mostly heavy. He got basically power lower. Became Brawn. Still around this very day. With Power Champions. And that's that. But what about Jocasta? Well, she at the end of this book married Ultron, which apparently other books simply ignore that. The fact that she married Ultron. Also, in the opening issues, I forgot to mention, she actually made out with Hank Pym. And Jarvis points out, it's like, oh yeah, you made out with your grandfather. And Picasso like, no, not really. It's more like making out with God. Because he's the god of artificial intelligence. Which, okay. I get the fact Jacasta's hot, but wow. Jocasta herself is still around. And Dan Slott made her a supporting character in the pages of his run for Iron Man, which shows how much love he has for Jocasta. Yeah, but after this book concluded, she didn't do very much after that. Up until she popped up in Tony Stark Iron Man, she did very little. I mean, she popped up Marvel Zombies, but that was it. She kind of hooked up back out with Aaron Stack, the Machine Man. But yeah, she did very little for almost a decade until Dan Slott basically picked her up, made her a supporting character, where she kind of ended her relationship with Aaron Stack. Though at the end of, if you've read, I did read at the end of the first final issue of Iron Man 2020, where she's back together with him, and they're basically hunky-dory. Unknown if he gave his little anti-human stance. I don't know, but that's simply, and that's simply the end of Mighty Avengers Volume 1. Now, I still got one trade left to go for Volume 2, which I'm hoping to get that soon. Plus, of course, but that was also the start of Al Ewing's run with the book. It's interesting, though, for 36 issues for Mighty Avengers, they only had 2 writers. First was Bendis, and then it was Dan Slott. My only guess is originally Bendis led the book because he was doing Dark Avengers. Alright, move on to a different Avengers book. This is the start of a different writer's run. This is Avengers Volume 1 by Brian Michael Bendis. This collects the first 6 issues of Avengers Volume 4. Yes, Bendis basically is the writer of the book. Now, as you skip with the artwork, it's done by John Romita Jr. Now, this is at the events of Siege, where we have a brand new lineup. Yeah, we have a brand new lineup for the Avengers. Well, the main team, which is based out of Avengers Tower. And it's because at this point, the Avengers were actually headquartered in this building for the next 5 years. Because as soon as Bendis left, when Hickman took the book, they still hadn't headquartered the tower. Yeah, they were headquartered in the tower up until the Avengers of Secret Wars. Because after that, they moved to a warehouse, then back to the building, and now they're headquartered out of the body of a Celestial. Yeah. Now, the line of this book is quite interesting. Now, of course, you have Iron Man, Thor, those two quite given. You gotta have them because they're Avengers. You also have Bucky Barnes, Captain America, Spider-Man, Wolverine. You also have Spider-Woman. Yeah, she's part of this group. Yeah, this is the first time she's actually been part of this team. Now, there has been a Spider-Woman who joined the Avengers before. That was Jessica Drew. Well, Julie Carpenter. So, yeah, Jessica Drew joined the Avengers. That's the first for her, along with Wolverine. And, of course, Bucky Barnes, a.k.a. the current Captain America. These three are first-timers. Spider-Man has been part of the main team before, back in the 80s, though he was a reserve member. But yeah, he was part of the team. And they were also joined by Maria Hill. Interesting choice. My only guess is the reason why Bendis brought her in, because he created her. And of course, we also have the Protector who joins the team. And after they initially formed the team Avengers Tower, now Cap's, yeah, I'm not in charge of this team. She is. Though initially the group is led by Bucky Barnes. Yeah, in a way. Though the first threat comes in the form of King the Conqueror. Yep. And yeah, and he does the Back to the Future thing like, your kids, we gotta save your kids. So I'm like, what? Kids? And then we have sort of like, they kind of get something connects with the time stream, and they look at the alternate versions. Now, one people, and of course they have people like scattered over New York, like various different time areas. Like, when they look into the thing, they also see a brief image of the Guardians from the Future, which, that's quite interesting because this is the first time since the end of the run back in the 90s that these characters have been seen, though initially after this, next time you seen them was actually in Dan Abnett and Dan Lanning's Guardians of the Galaxy book. That's the next time we see them. And they go basically off various places. They have basically Cap, Iron Man, and Thor. I think it's Iron Man, Thor, and I think the Protector and Wolverine go out dealing with whatever area here. And of course, oh yeah, and also Hawkeye's part of this team too. So they go off to deal with their own threat. And Spider-Man runs into an old friend. He runs into Killraven. Like, hey man, what's up? Like, I know you. Yeah, unless you read Mighty Team, unless you read the series Marvel Team Up, and of course, this is one thing I like about this trade. There is no editor's note. Like, a lot of people are wondering, like, wait, when in the world did Spider-Man kill Raven? That happened in Marvel Team number 45 when he was time hopping for a few issues in that series. Yeah, and apparently Bendis remembered, oh yeah, they met before, but there's no editor's note exactly when they first met. I kind of wish they would included that here, but they didn't. And Killraven kind of becomes a supporting character in these issues, and I think I believe he's also part of the next issues as well. When they kind of, and here's the thing: the kids they're talking about are from the next Avengers movie. Yeah, they're part of the Marvel Multiverse, and they're mentored by Tony Stark. And apparently, the main villain of the story is Ultron, which. Shout out Ultron Holocaust. Yeah, that's Bendis basically teasing a storyline he would not do for a few years. What storyline is that? Age of Ultron. Also, we also have it where, when they bring back the Avengers, the only person who turns it down is Wonder Man. Yeah, this is teasing something will happen a little bit later in the annuals, when he does follow up with his Ravagers group. Yeah, this is a fun, epic storyline, and basically stuff befitting the Avengers to do. Heck, they even fight Apocalypse, though, an alternate version of him. Now, Wolverine's, yeah, I fought Apocalypse before, and everyone's like, who the heck is Apocalypse? You guys have fought Apocalypse forces before in Blood Apocalypse. Did Bendis forget about that? Apparently he did. This, matter of fact, only happened just about 3 years prior to events of the story, but yeah, they have fought Apocalypse forces before, so not the first time. At least Wolverine's got history with them. Yeah. And all in all, great story arc to start out the run. They do wrap up the whole thing with Kang. They do kind of repeat a couple things where, oh yeah, we see Immortalist in this storyline because of course we got to see Immortalist because he's the master of time. And he gets pretty much killed by the next Avengers. And one of these kids happen to be, they didn't mention the girl. She's actually Thor's daughter. They don't bring up the fact that the kid with Captain America's energy shield is Captain America's son with the Black Widow. Yeah, they don't bring up that little factoid. Though here's the thing. This kid's father is Steve Rogers, not Bucky Barnes. It'd be interesting, though, if he actually was. Yeah. But this story overall, really good. Good way to start off the run. And next arc, the Red Hulk shows up. And he becomes part of this team. Yeah, as for how he becomes part of this team, that's thanks in part to Bruce Banner. Yep. But yeah. Let me show us some artwork in here for this, because this, of course, is John Romita Jr.'s artwork. This page here, Gets repeated a couple times to this whole storyline. And this is the outfit that Steve Rogers was sporting during this period of time. His super soldier outfit. Yeah. Now, at this time, anyways, at the top Avengers Tower, in case you're wondering what that thing is on top of the tower, that's Heimdall's lookout. Yes. But in case you're wondering, what happened to the Sentry's watchtower on top of the building? Well, after he died, the thing disappeared. Yep, it disappeared. And even after the Sentry's return, I don't think that building has ever returned at all. But that was mainly put there because what happened in Avengers Siege as a thank you for help saving Asgard. Yeah. But I love the fact, and here's the thing, that despite like everything was torn up, somehow Killraven stayed. Somehow. And I like the fact that I wouldn't be surprised if they basically later on they decided to bring this character back in. Now, I'm surprised this is the same Killraven from the classic War of the Worlds. Now, those of you curious, who the heck is Killraven? Well, he made his first appearance in Amazing Adventure. It was Amazing Adventure number, I believe it was 19, I think it was. Actually, it was 18. And he was part of the book for about 21 issues. The last 20 issues of that run. He did also occasionally appear outside the book, like an issue of Marvel Team Up, which where he met Spider-Man. And then he also, his last appearance prior to this was actually in a one-shot called Killraven, but that came out in 2001. This came out in 2010. Yeah. Also, fun fact, when this book came out back in 2010, this is the first book title, just simply Avengers, first time since 2004 with Disassembled. It had been 5 years since, well, the last book ended. So, I guess Bendis felt this will be the perfect time to do it. Of course, this book also started off the Heroic Age. That lasted for about a year until Fear itself happened. Yeah, Heroic Age is kind of similar to the factoid of DC Rebirth. Basically, a lot of stuff happening. A big thing about putting heroes and pushing villains of the past year. Yeah, great stuff, though it didn't last very long. It almost seems as though that Marvel planned stuff to last for a good period of time. Before this acted like a year. That's how Marvel tends to work when it comes to stuff like that. But yeah, that's it for this particular review. Stay tuned to my review. Save more for One Piece, Fire Force, and Case Closed. Okay? See you next video. Bye.